It is such a time today that nobody can give you an advice. I'm responsible for all my acts, alone, on my own. It's a very difficult choice. Very quickly, within the first 5 days, I realized that I need to listen to my heart only. I was hoping for common sense, that constructive work, theory of little actions, all this will convince the state not to make suicidal steps. This possibility of dialogue was diminishing, and now it completely vanished. 15 years sentence for fake information on the internet. Do you realize how much aggression you will face after this interview? I know that I'm not a traitor. I know for sure I'm not. I love my homeland. Tell Gordeyeva, Chulpan Khamatova. So, since for the next 2 hours, I will try not to be your friend and will try to be a journalist. Oh no. At any point, you can say that you don't want to answer the question. You can interrupt the conversation and take some time, because I understand it's going to be emotionally quite difficult. So, last spring we were planning to record an interview, and we never thought that we will be recording in under such circumstances. First, we need to say where we are. We are in Latvia, in Riga. Do you need precise address? No. Why? Because I can't call somebody's grief, somebody's pain, somebody's tragedy a humanitarian catastrophe. I can't call it something that frees somebody from something. I can't call war some other name. And I'm afraid to come back, just not to lose my conscience and myself. For me to return to Russia, there are 2 ways. It's first to stop talking about the war, call it the war, saying that this is a tragedy. I have no idea how not to see what I see and what I get from my Ukrainian friends. I'm getting this information, what's going on there. How can I lie to myself, lie to the world? To live without truth. And that's probably the best, unless they're going to make me call white collar, black collar. It's complete indifference, and to apologize for not supporting the beginning of the special operation, and then going through the list, kind of playing by the rules that they have. That's the only way for me to return to Russia and not to get to prison. You know it for sure. So what is it to know for sure? And I have no idea. Your decision to leave Russia, at what point did you make it? Did you make it on the 24th of February? I wasn't in Russia. I was on holiday when the war started. Frankly, I don't really remember all my thoughts at that point. First, I realized that I will be able to kind of wait somewhere when it's over. Then I was frightened by the information I was getting. And there was this letter of the 13th, and my signature is also under this letter. And then they informed me that it's undesirable to go back. Can you tell me who told you that? So this is unofficial authorities, right? So with official authorities, I wanted to say that I have no contacts. Yes, I do have communication with them. See, today, there is such a situation that people who can actually give you some guarantees, kind of telling you, you can return and there is a guarantee that nobody is going to touch you. But I don't believe that. Because the president of my country, he promised me and the whole world that the war will not be. It was very gradual, very painful. I have such a strange reaction of my body. When it's a stressful situation, I have pain in my back, and the pain is so severe that I can't walk. And all those questions and matters that I need to deal with, I had to find a doctor. I need to find a chance to recuperate. So all this was in this kind of internal search for a solution, what to do. So I needed to make a decision. And the hardest thing was to make this decision. And I'm very much ashamed to say that was the hardest thing for me to do, knowing what's going on in Ukraine. So everything that is very hard for me, this is not the same hard thing that happening now in Ukraine. You have 3 kids. Did you understand when you were making this decision that you're taking your kids with you and they will be also deprived of their homeland for some time? Yes. Did you have a conversation with them? With their youngest daughter, probably we didn't speak in such detail, but with the elder ones, yes, I did speak. Did they support you? Yes, sometime after that they did. What arguments did you have? My arguments were, for us to survive in Russia, me, all of you, we all need to learn how to lie. We have to be silent. We have to go by somebody's grief, not to pay attention to people, not to see what's happening, and kind of forget about all the future prospects of our life. Katya, it's very difficult to speak about it, and when I speak about it, I'm thinking about the people who are there in Russia, who stay there, and who made the decision to stay. And I don't want to make the picture worse than it is, and to kind of put my view, impose my view on the others, because everybody feels pain. Before, there were many difficult events, and you used to say that if in 2012 I was told that Putin would wage this war, I would not vote. And if I was told that there will be a war in Donbass and people would die, children and civilians, then you wouldn't support him. Yes, did say that. And first of all, the war in Donbass and all the events around Ukraine in 2014 and the annexation of Crimea, it wasn't the final point for you to make the decision to leave. It was not. So what was keeping you in the country? I was hoping for the common sense. I was hoping that constructive work, a theory of little actions, will convince the state not to make suicidal steps. Were there compromises with yourselves, or it was a constructive work for the foundation? There were both compromises and my attempt of constructive work. For me now it's very strange to look at myself of that time. After everything I know today, for me it's very strange how could understand where I'm living, what the reality is, only when I got to the court trial of Pussy Riot. So I just realized that things are not the way you kind of constructed them in your own head. So it's not always that justice is on top and injustice is punished. That's my naivete, an awful one. I was very naive. And then there was Crimea after that. And back then I could at least not to sign the letter. It was quite scary not to sign the letter, and it was clear that there could be consequences after that. But at that point it was enough to kind of remain a person who can actually look at herself in the mirror. But then everything was kind of accumulating. Then Kirill Serebrennikov case and all this immersion into this strange atmosphere and this possibility of dialogue, of this constructive work was getting thinner and thinner, and now it completely vanished. And if before there was kind of canvas, a kind of grayish canvas, and there were like white spots on it, and you could jump from one to another. Now there are no spots, white spots anymore. I'd like to go back to the time when you were just an actress and you were not interested in politics. Do you remember that time? Let me see. I was in the movie The Time of a Dancer when I was on my third year in the theater school. Do they call it politics? Because if you remember, this film is based on a story that you cannot make your happiness on unhappiness of the others. Can you call it politics? Can you not? Because Sergey Govorukhin, the documentary maker and military reporter, he brought me those videos of these military operations, how our boys, these young soldiers, who had no idea where they were sent. And I saw this video when a commander is bringing together his platoon, just the remains of it. I don't know all these ranks and hierarchy in the army. Say this guy, you know, the head of the platoon, of those who still remained, and he kind of salutes them and says, "Platoon," in the numbers of like 7 people, and the commander begins to cry and kind of, you know, pushes his hand away and hugs the guy and all that. So I think it was politics too. Frankly, I don't know what is it to be interested in politics. Seriously think about it, that such things are very near you. And I think I really felt it when I went to the court trials of Pussy Riot. Pussy Riot rock group. And it was a kind of mistake, kind of strange case. I couldn't quite see this cause and effect yet. Because, you know, now many artists, even teachers, they say, you know, I'm out of politics. I'm just doing my thing. I will be singing. I will be performing because people need that. It's either ignorance or it's our self-preservation feeling. Everybody has their own way of kind of saving themselves, and they have their own truth. People who don't see an opportunity to change the situation in any other way. So they are helping, as they think, they're helping with the playing their concerts. And this is how they're going to support other people. There are several important consequences of your decision. First of all, the Podari Zhizn Foundation that you're founder of. Yes, I will be the founder of this charitable foundation. The foundation will keep working. It has a great team of people. They do the work super professionally. They're open to people, always. And they do it super professionally. And while they have this chance to help people, the foundation will be helping. And I will be helping myself as well. And I beg you, please, don't leave the foundation and if you have some negative attitude to me. So everybody needs to understand that this is my personal decision. This is my own personal decision. The Podari Zhizn Foundation is honest, professional, caregiving organization with great people who are working in it. Did you talk to the foundation? Did you talk to the doctors that work in the fund when you were making your decision? Of course, I didn't ask for the advice when I was making my decision. I was just explaining and just telling them that this is how the things are. Because today is such a time that nobody can give you an advice. The advice that could be an explanation or like a guarantee to you, we can't have that. And I can see that with my friends who are in the same state as I am, confused and lost, like all thinking people. So that's why I was thinking about how to protect the foundation, how to do it in such a way so the fund wouldn't suffer. Because children who have cancer today, they are not guilty of geopolitical games. They need to get cured, grow up, and make their own choice. Right now, the choice is made for them. If I understand you correctly, and economic sanctions that followed after the invasion to Ukraine basically significantly nullify the possibility to treat children in Russia. Well, not nullify. The quality and quantity of this help will suffer from this, of course. In what aspect? In all aspects. From 50 to 90% of medications, supplies, equipment, all this comes from abroad. But I really hope that pharmaceutical companies will be with us and will not stop shipments of medications, which means we will be able to buy them and to deliver them to us, but with a higher price. Right now, it's such a time that it's time of kind of mega humanism, and this is the only way to stand through this, to endure this, is to help others. Maybe it sounds naive, but I would say this mutual help, this mutual support, it's extremely important, vitally important. Then let's explain how people can help if they can't use Google Pay, Apple Pay, or PayPal. For example, if their subscriptions, donations were cancelled because of all these actions. So how they can help today? So they can transfer money to the website, because within Russia, cards, bank cards still work. You can do it through the website. Cash, yes, of course, cash. Through the saving banks. Yes. Savings bank is back. In the situation of devaluation of ruble and the prices for medications are growing, and it's not clear how to deliver the medications to Russia. No, we can do that. So our key intermediate was intermediary DHL company, and it was sort of leaving the country, but we already agreed with how to do it with a different company. The way wouldn't be as streamlined, but at least it's clear that we can resolve this issue. The logistics is clear. Then we have our branches and in London, Gift of Life, and Podari Life in the United States. Podari Life had a special training program for doctors. Right now, we will have to reformat it and can purchase medication through this. Can you forecast whether the foundation will be able to keep the number of patients that it has today, or you'll have to decrease them? As of today, the number of patients we have today, the foundation will be able to treat them. Then we'll need to think. So did you talk to the doctors, what they think? The clinic that you invested so much, reputation and funds, clinic in Dmitry Rogachev Center, there is the best practices there, the state-of-the-art methodologies and all that. So within one generation, we saw what happened there.
Среди людей, чьим мнением и отношением ты дорожишь, какую реакцию вызвало твое решение о невозвращении в Россию?
Among people whom opinion you value, what was their reaction? Their reaction was reasonable. They understood me. Did anyone tell you that you're crazy, come back? Yes, they did. See, there are different opinions. There are opinions of people who are extremely important for me, very close to me, but those who still don't understand that things drastically changed. Maybe some of them, out of the sense of self-preservation, they live in the paradigm of old principles, so to speak. Very quickly, maybe within 4 or 5 days, I realized that I need to listen to my heart only. I am responsible for all my acts, myself, alone. I make these decisions. I can listen to some advice, to any recommendations, but the final decision I'll make. I need to consult with my conscience and my heart. At least among those people who are in the very top, and you met those people. You met with Putin, the ministers, Putin spokesman, Dmitry Peskov. And now you see what they say and how they speak to their audience. Do you see any changes in them? Oh, come on, I have no time for anything. I don't watch them today. Today, you see what happened? The main lie happened. The president of the country promised, he said, in other words, he lied. I really don't have time to watch anything. And from the actor's point of view, to say what changed in them. You see, I saw this kind of dark face of Nabiulina at some of the meetings, and this is what I noticed. And I am now in a very strange state. And in what state are you now? Because some people in Russia and Valentina Matvienko, the head of Federation Council, she used to say, so you have all these houses, country houses and palaces, whatever. So what are you doing now? What I have today, now, these are the people, friends, and those who really care around me. This is the main value that I have today. From those material, tangible things, I managed to build a house. I have a house. I have roof and the walls. But in order to take care of those walls and the roof, so I don't know how to do it yet in this situation that when I don't have work and I don't have any prospects in the future. And this house is not in Yurmala region or Riga city, it's in the countryside, and for me to get to this house, I need help of other people because I don't have money to rent a car as I used to do. And I'm very grateful to everybody who is helping me. May I ask you, how much money do you have? Not, I mean, I don't need the exact amount, but in terms of for the future, how much money do you have to live without work? 3-4 months. But again, Katya, comparing to what's going on there, it's just damn money. Yes, of course I need to think about it, but it's something that can be resolved. There, people are in such a situation they cannot resolve, and this is really a matter of life and death. People who left and those who are speaking up against the war, besides they're saying that they're traitors and they're saying that they're not patriots. Are you a patriot of the country? What is to be a patriot? To love my homeland. What do you love in your homeland? First of all, the people who are truly fantastic, unique. Looking at how charity was developing in Russia and how quickly and how it was quickly spreading and how many were engaged in this. Great people. This is an incredible treasure that Russia has. People. And science, culture, doctors, whom I love, who are my close friends and whom I looked up at. And a place? Theater.
тебя только в прошлом году там прекрасная премьера Горбачева.
Last year, you had a great premiere called Gorbachev and Master Margaret. I dream about it every night. The show, I dream every night that I'm preparing for the show.
Но в эту же секунду я получаю какое-нибудь сообщение, что
But at the same point,
девочка в Мариуполе умерла от
I
перевозивания.
get a message that a girl in Mariupol died of dehydration,
6-летняя.
a 6-year-old girl.
И мои переживания по поводу того, что я лишена
And all my worries about being
любимого своего дела
deprived of
отходят
my
на второй план.
favorite work kind of doesn't matter anymore.
Ты с Мироновым обсуждала, что будет за спектакль?
Did you discuss it with Evgeny Mironov, what's going to happen to the show, with the head of your theater?
Я не нашла в себе смелости ему позвонить, я
Frankly,
написала
I didn't have
письмо.
enough courage to actually call him, so I wrote a letter.
Я очень люблю Женю.
I adore Evgeny.
И спектакли идут.
So the shows are running.
То есть там будет просто другая артистка.
Да.
There will be just
И как
a
только
different
будет возможность
actress.
вернуться,
Yes,
я вернусь.
and as soon as I have a chance to return, I'll return.
Что должно случиться, чтобы ты вернулась?
What should happen for you to return?
Прекратится война,
The war must stop,
и страна повернуться на
and the
180
country
градусов
has to
в
make a
сторону
180-degree turn
свобод.
towards freedoms.
Столько, сколько мы сегодня тратим на оборудование, хотела сказать.
We spend so much, I wanted to say, on
Как
equipment.
это называется?
How you call this?
На оборону.
Defense.
Все это
All we
должно
spend on
идти на
defense
образование и медицину.
should be spent on education and medicine.
У тебя здесь есть предложение о работе?
Do you have any
Не за
job offers
границей,
here?
но они такие очень
Not abroad,
какие-то
from anywhere, but you know, all of them are
размытые.
are
Конкретных предложений.
very
А
vague,
эмоционально ты вообще можешь
nothing
развить на
concrete.
сцену?
Can you go on stage
Тебе было бы
emotionally?
легче?
Would it be easier for you?
И смотря смотря какая тема.
Depending on the subject of a show.
Смотря о чем. Комедию.
Depending what it's going to be about. Comedy, no.
Не в состоянии.
I can't do it now.
Что я не припомню тебя в репертуаре комедии.
I really don't remember any comedies in your repertoire.
Кать, я вообще не могу вспомнить.
Katya, listen, I can't even remember
Я
anything.
знаю точно, что они были, но вспомнить.
I remember that I had them, but I can't say anything concrete.
Почему тебе оказалось важным вот сформулировать это, что я
Why for you it was very
вернулась в Россию,
important
я живу
to
вот
kind of
здесь. Очень многие
say
люди,
to
которые
yourself that
уехали,
I
они, в том числе официально, говорят, что
don't
в
go to
отпуске, на
Russia, I
каникулах,
live
на
here,
лечении и
because,
так
you know, some
далее.
people kind
Почему
of
тебе
say
важно
to
об этом
themselves that
говорить?
they're kind of on holidays.
Ну, потому что,
Why it's important for you to say that you live now here? Because you see kind of deeply, the whole thing is very frightening.
Хорошо, что я тебе даю.
It's frightening to
Если бы вместо тебя сидел
record
другой
an
человек, я
interview.
бы,
It's
наверное,
great that you're interviewing
просто
me because you
тряслась, как я
such a
обычно
close
трясусь.
person to me, but you know, usually I
Это
would
всё
be
страшно,
shaking.
потому что дома остались
It's all scary because
заложники. Ну, в
at
моей
home
ситуации, да? Я
I
очень
have
много
hostages
боюсь.
in my situation, and I'm very
Это очень
much
страшно.
frightened what's going to
Но
happen to
потом
them,
я
and it's
думаю,
really
я
scary.
ничего не сделала плохого,
Then I
подождите.
think, I didn't do anything bad,
Я
nothing.
просто говорю
I'm
о
just
том, что я
speaking
не хочу войны. Я
about
хочу мира.
not
Я
wanting
не
the
хочу.
war. I want peace.
Я не хочу участвовать в этом.
I don't want to participate in all this.
Поэтому ничего как бы
That's why
нету состава преступления, его нету.
there is no substance for the case. You know,
В чем моя вина?
what is my accusations?
почему я вдруг начинаю смотреть на себя с
Why
их точки зрения?
am I looking at myself from their
Почему?
point of view? Why?
Я ни в чем не виновата.
I'm not guilty of anything.
А в какой
Кроме
момент?
того, что я подставила театр и друзей.
Besides that, I kind of
Но это
exposed
был, как бы это,
my theater and friends.
Почему подставила?
ну, что спектакли, что
Why do you mean exposed?
отменены спектакли.
Because, you know, they canceled shows.
Есть аргумент, который используют люди,
There
которые
is this
поддерживают
argument that those who support the
спецоперацию,
war
они
they
называют
use,
спецоперацией,
they call it
о
special
том, что
operation.
России угрожали.
They said
Что
that
была
Russia
угроза,
was
которую
threatened, that there was a threat that they had to prevent,
Да.
and they managed to stop this threat.
Я этот аргумент как бы
Okay,
обхожу со
so
всех
this
сторон и
argument, I'm
пытаюсь его
trying to look at it
осмыслить.
from all
И
sides, and I'm trying
логически
to
я
kind of
не
get my
вижу
head
ни
around it.
одного
And logically, I
объяснения
don't see any explanation for it.
по многим пунктам. Для того, чтобы как бы захватить
In order
нас
to
и все наши
conquer
ресурсы и
us and
богатства,
conquer all our
стереть
resources and our wealth and to
Россию, как
obliterate
говорится,
Russia,
да,
so to speak.
в принципе, можно было
I think
вообще не вводить ничего, просто
probably
сделать то, что сделано сейчас. Ввести
nobody
санкции.
had to do anything. They just should do what are they
Ввести
doing? What
санкции,
they're doing now,
заблокировать
you
все
know,
счета, все эти
impose
деньги, которые
sanctions,
были заблокированы, они
block all the
останутся
funds, block
условно
all the
там в Лондоне.
accounts, you know, and all this money is
Ну, то есть можно было
out
это
there
сделать
in
намного
the West.
экономически и политически хитрее, чем тупо
All this
выводить.
could be done politically and economically
И тоже
more
не понимаю, почему именно украинскими людьми
wily than they do now. So I don't know why
войска.
particularly
Это
Ukrainian forces were
я
a
не
threat.
понимаю. Я
I
просто
have
как
no
бы
idea.
я прошу, у меня есть, между прочим, близкие люди.
In fact,
Ну,
I
не знаю,
have
раньше они были
close
близкими.
friends, or they were close before.
Я прошу, можете мне
And
объяснить
I asked
спокойно?
them, you know, could you just calmly
Ну, вот
explain
мне
to me?
нужно так, чтобы вот
I just needed to be
началось.
explained very
Вот у меня есть формула, я ее должна
plainly. So kind
доказать.
of, you know, there is this
Помогите мне доказать эту
problem, so,
формулу.
or
Объясните
a
мне
theory, a formula.
вот на
Help me
пальцах,
to prove it and
с чего, почему
explain it to
это,
me
как бы,
plainly.
как мне объяснить моей
How
логикой, чтобы я это могла понять.
can I
Пока не
explain it
удалось
with my
мне понять.
logic to be able to actually get my head
То
around
есть
it? So
ну,
far,
как бы
nobody
все равно
managed
все
to
остается
convince me.
в форме «они
All of it
могли бы
kind of stays in
это
that
сделать». Ну, так и
definition, in
могли
that
бы кто
statement, they
угодно.
could have done it. But anybody
У
could have
России
done
не
it.
один сосед, не только Украина. У
Russia
России
has
много
many
соседей.
neighbors, not just Ukraine,
Кто
you know,
угодно мог это
anybody could have
сделать.
done it.
Есть у тебя вот это вот мучение по того, что я всегда была с моим народом там, где мой народ, к несчастью, был, что народ
Do you
твой
have
там,
these pangs of
люди
conscience?
твои
You know, I
там,
was always with
друзья твои
my
там, и
people, with my friends, and my friends are there, my
а
people
ты
are
не
there,
там.
and
Ой,
I'm
да,
not
это
there
очень
with them.
тяжело.
Yes, it's
Вот
very
эти вот качели
hard.
совести, это очень
You know, all
тяжело.
this roller coaster of
Но
consciousness is very difficult.
это опять-таки взгляд с какой-то другой стороны.
But again, this is
Послушай, я
looking at it from a different angle.
люблю Михаила Сергеевича Горбачева,
I adore
который в
Mikhail
своей юности мне
Gorbachev,
объяснил, что мир открыт.
that when I was young, he can explain to me that the world is
И
open,
свобода передвижения — это была
and the freedom
одна из
of
первых свобод, которую он подарил.
traveling, that was one of the
И
first
то, что
freedoms that he
я
gave us.
физически не там,
And the thing that I'm not physically
не
there
говорит о том, что я не там.
doesn't
Я там.
mean that I'm not there. I am there.
Я очень люблю и очень переживаю своих друзей, которые там
I love
остались.
my friends, and I'm
Пытаюсь
very
им
much concerned
помочь,
about my friends, and I'm trying to help them,
что-то посоветовать, решить.
speak to them, to
Помощь там. Дети, к
somehow
сожалению,
give them
продолжают
help
болеть.
there. Sadly,
И
children
некоторые
are
просьбы о
still
помощи
sick,
приходят
and some
как
requests for help
это достаточно привычно, потому что
come
мой
to me,
телефон, по-моему, есть уже у всех.
and it's
У
a
меня в моем
quite
телефоне.
common thing because, you know, my phone
Я
number, probably
пытаюсь
everybody has it,
сделать все возможное, чтобы помочь им быстрее,
and I'm
как-то
trying to
быстрее,
do
эффективнее.
all the best to make it as efficient as
Я не там
possible.
физически, но я там
I'm not physically there, but I'm
Я
there.
очень не хочу, не хочу делать выбор между
I don't want to
родиной
make a choice between
и не родиной.
my
То, что для
homeland
меня,
and
то, что делает
not my
сегодня
homeland.
власть,
Because what the authorities do
это
today,
делают они.
this is what they do.
И ставить перед выбором людей,
And
выберите,
to put people on the spot, kind of
кроме
make
власти,
them
там есть
choose.
еще
Besides the
огромное
authorities,
количество потрясающих
there are
людей,
many
тоже
wonderful
плохих
people
людей,
there
заблуждающихся.
and good people who are just
Если мы
confused.
начнем вешать ярлыки друг другу
And
сейчас
now if you're going to label each other,
со всех сторон, то путь в никуда.
then it's a dead end.
Это тупиковый путь.
It's a dead end.
Сейчас и руководители благотворительных фондов, и
Now
руководители театров,
the
и
heads
многие
of
другие
charitable
люди, от которых
foundations and the
зависят
head of the
другие
theaters
дела,
that other
которые
people
посвятили всю
depend
свою
on
жизнь,
and
они,
the
очевидно,
businesses that
столкнутся
dedicated their
с
life to,
тестом на
obviously
лояльность.
they
Это можно
will
будет или
face
промолчать,
the loyalty test because they
что
either have to
приравнивается
keep
скорее к
silent,
поддержке, да,
and that's probably
или
considered as support
поддержать
of
публично.
the official
Как ты
policy,
думаешь, как
or they need to
ребята будут?
support
Это
the
люди,
official
которых мы с тобой
policy
знаем, любим
publicly.
и уважаем.
So these are the people whom we
Как они
know,
будут проходить это
respect, and
испытание
love.
вообще?
So
Будет
how they're
тяжело.
going through this
Очень тяжело.
very difficultly.
Им будет очень
It's
тяжело.
going to be very hard to them.
Ты с ними на связи,
Are you in touch with them? Yes.
и ты их не винишь, и не будешь винить ни в чем.
And you don't blame them, and you won't blame them in anything. No.
Нет. Я не могу
No.
требовать.
I can't
Это решение, которое я сделала,
demand
требовало от меня каких-то...
anybody to do anything. So this decision that I made,
Это было очень страшное, очень тяжелое решение.
it was
Очень
very
тяжелое.
difficult,
Самое
terrifying
страшное
decision.
решение
It's
в моей
probably
жизни.
the most terrifying decision in my life.
Может быть, из-за того, что я просто была подготовлена, глубоко напичкана
Maybe because I was kind
всей
of
великой русской
deeply
литературой,
prepared and kind of
проходила
stuffed with all this like great Russian literature.
как бы последний спектакль «Мастера Маргариты».
My latest show, Master and Margaret.
Все, что было возможно, я все
So everything that was possible to read around the show, around the play, I did.
Но это очень тяжелое решение. И то,
But the decision was very difficult.
нету, как бы, все заложники. Это
Everybody is a
сплошное горе со
hostage.
всех сторон.
It's
Горе
grief
там, горе
everywhere.
здесь.
Grief here, grief there.
Когда ты приняла решение, тебе стало легче?
When you made the decision, did you feel
Да,
better? Yes.
да. Да. Мне не стало менее страшно.
And
То есть
I didn't feel
фактически, на
less
самом деле,
terrified.
мы
So in
наблюдаем
fact,
такое,
we
крушение
see
своей стратегии жизненной.
kind of
Стратегии
shattering
в чем?
of our life strategy.
Что
Strategy
там
in what?
никто не был во власти, да,
The
но
strategy
ты
that
создала
none of
фонд,
us was
который
in
без малого
power,
20 лет
but you
вокруг себя
founded
консолидировал
this
гражданское, в том
foundation
числе общество,
almost like
и лучших
20
врачей,
years,
и
and you consolidated all
волонтеров,
like civil
помогал
society around you,
мамам
or
и
the best
детям
doctors. You helped
вне
mothers,
всякой
children,
скидки или коррекции для их
outside
политических
of kind
взглядов.
of
Самые разные были и мамы, и дети.
any
Фонд «Подари жизнь» был одним из первых в
regard
России.
of their political views
Вокруг
and all
него
that.
стали расти, и рядом с ним стали расти другие фонды. И,
Podari Zhizn
наверное,
Foundation
казалось,
was
что
growing
вот эта
itself, and
жизнь,
other foundations were growing
которую люди
around it.
сами
So, and
организовывают,
this left, it was
она
self-organized.
должна и власти в том числе показать,
Somehow this
что
life
можно
is supposed to
доносить
show
добро
the government, the
какими-то
authorities, that
насильственными
you
методами,
could
что люди
deliver
могут
good
самоорганизовываться, что люди могут
without
приносить
imposing
пользу,
it,
что их
that
не
people
нужно
will be
заставлять выступать
self-organized,
какими-то
that you don't
пунктами.
have to
Они могут сами.
enforce
Не
them,
работает.
force them, that they can do it all on their own.
Ну, я не могла представить, что сила страны,
See, I just couldn't imagine that
она лишь в том, чтобы у нее была территория.
that the power of the
А не в том,
country
чтобы люди на
is
территории,
its
которые уже есть,
vast
жили
territory,
счастливо,
and
в
not that
достатке.
its power in people, that people live happily in good conditions, kind of to realize that there is a different understanding of the power of your homeland. And I couldn't get my head around that. It's not that the power is not the quality of life, but the power is the territory. And I couldn't understand it. And I couldn't understand it even not until the Crimea, until Donbass, or until 23rd of February. I thought that all of us together were trying to do it in such a way that the strength of the country, the power of the country would be in the quality of life. But I couldn't imagine that it is not in quality, it is in quantity of the territory. And I couldn't imagine this until these days. Do you realize what an aggression you're going to face after this interview? I know that I'm not a traitor. I know this for sure. I love my homeland. I do love it. And I'm not a traitor. I didn't do any harm to anyone in this life consciously. And if I did it unconsciously, so I always apologized if I hurt someone. And if I did it unconsciously. So if it's so, I apologize. So what anybody can do now? So what can you? So if we speak about the theory of little actions, so now we have the theory of micro actions. So any support today, to help with some advice, or maybe just console someone. This is very important. It's just to keep all your connections, never go into conflicts, never have hard feelings, because people say that any conflict or aggression, sorry for speaking in those categories, but for some reason, seeing and feeling what's happening in the world, I am sure that any little breakdown, any little aggression, dissatisfaction, it flies up there and it multiplies darkness. And this balance today is very fragile between the light and darkness. That's why don't give this darkness, this abstract darkness, don't feed it with our negative energy. We need to multiply light. How's it possible? Just, with your consciousness, just say to yourself, if I'm just about to be hurt, but now my hurt will go up there and it will add to this dark cloud. See, first of all, I all of a sudden became a 7-year-old girl. On that date, on the 24th of February, I just realized that I'm 7 years old. I know nothing. That I'm sort of a lost child, panicking child. And I'm filled with fear. And degrees of this fear was, first of all, my hands were shaking and I couldn't press numbers on my phone. Then I couldn't put the car key in the ignition hole, and I couldn't start the car. And this 7-year-old girl sees this dark cloud and realizes that any malice or aggression, and if even you face some absurd opinion, just kind of let this person have this opinion, because with aggression you won't resolve anything. Only those people can make decisions, can resolve things, those who are now responsible for what's going on today. When my back was hurting and I came for the first time to the doctor, and I was shaking as if I'm on the electric chair, when I was leaving the doctor said to me, you need to smile. You need to smile no matter what. And I tried to smile. And I had and I made some ugly face. And, you know, this smile, I couldn't force it. And then I recalled this great exercise that we did at some of the trainings, my professional trainings, and you close your eyes and you kind of draw this smile on your forehead, not with your muscles and with your lips, not just you draw it on your forehead, and somehow your lips kind of make a smile. So we need to multiply light. We need to flood everything with light. It is such a time today that, you know, we think about these friends of mine that didn't make it today, you know, that didn't live through this. But, you know, I'm not. I do it different. I can give you like this life hack. When for the first time, for these first days, I was completely filled with fear. And in my imagination, I kind of built this ring around me. It was Marina Tsvetaeva, Brodsky, Mandelstam, Pasternak, Bulgakov, Anna Akhmatova, all my favorite poets and writers. I kind of made them a circle around me. And it helped me a lot. I don't know. You know, when I found out this V sign on our military equipment, you know, the truth is in force. You know, this truth force, it has nothing to do with Sergey Boдрov Jr. This is Mahatma Gandhi, this film director Balabanov, who did that movie with Sergey Bodrav. This truth force, this is Mahatma Gandhi. This is a non-violent policy. When they announced this salt march, they were saying that with a non-violent method, when you have truth backing you, you can resolve any issue. And from that time, it comes truth force. It's not Sergey Bodrav, no. And Sergey wouldn't be on that other side. One of the strongest experiences that I have, this is the feeling of guilt that we... I'll explain it. Oh, sorry, I interrupted you, you know, go ahead. No, go ahead. You know, when you speak, it really calms me down. But I think that should be said today, when in 2012, when you participated in Putin's presidential campaign, and you said the words to support his campaign, and you were thanking him for the clinic. Of course, that was a very difficult decision. It's not that I called them and I said that I want to be in the video, but frankly, my gratitude was sincere. So in this sincere gratitude, it was one of the kind of building blocks to support Putin. Yes, as a result, yes. Do you feel that you were an accessory to this? Yes, I do feel that I was an accessory. But So to speak, I was appealing to an adequate person. To some way, we measure people according to our measures, and we're like, so this person makes these steps, these acts, and I can justify what they do, kind of using my own logic. And of course, I couldn't even imagine that the logic there is completely different. So therefore, some people who saw the roots of what's going on today, of course they were right, but what could have been done with that? Then we would be in the same position, kind of like what they do today. So he could do something somewhere in the future, something that would be wrong. So we kind of using the same logic that they use today, when Ukraine could have attacked us. So by 2012, it wasn't clear for you about Putin. No. Frankly, I can tell you, I wasn't clear on that on 23rd of February. I was absolutely sure that the war will not be. How did you explain your children what happened? Not about non-returning, but about the war. I told them exactly what I see. A geopolitical catastrophe happened. You are talking to me now as if I am like an economist or a political expert. No, I'm talking to you as to a mom, to mother. But you see, I'm just kind of an individual, and I have my intuitive ideas about it and my intuitive decision making. And in this world of mine, the war is a bad thing. And this is how I raise my kids. I was telling them that everything can be resolved with love, trust, mutual respect, respecting others' opinions. And war is a bad thing. Death is bad. Sufferings, deprivations, all is bad. So what do you do today? What you spend your time on? And besides the fact that you're lost and all that. So I'm trying to settle my life here, and in parallel, I'm working on those requests for help that I receive, and I'm trying to pass them on to people who can actually tackle them. I really don't have time for my kids. At all. And it's very bad. But it's a situation when you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself first. So this is what I'm doing now, like you do it on a plane. I'm putting these masks on me so that then I could help my children. There's a lot of day-to-day matters that I need to deal with, and since I didn't plan this moving, and now I have to deal with all those matters. So, life has changed just in one day. And again, I feel ashamed that, I'm saying, oh, my life changed and all this horrible and all that. But if we compare it with what's happening there, I'm ashamed of talking about all this.
люди в России, которые поддерживают
People in Russia
спецоперацию,
who
они,
support this special
знаешь, у меня иногда
operation.
есть ощущение,
You
что
know,
это
sometimes I have this feeling that
происходит из чувства самосохранения.
they
Потому
do
что
it
если
because of
ты
the
действительно
sense of
веришь в то, что
self-preservation. Because if
там
you
война
really
и
believe
твоя
that
страна ее
there is a
начала,
war there and your
можно
country
сойти с ума.
started the war, you may go
И
crazy.
проще себя как-то, чуть-чуть успокоить.
У
And
кого-то,
it's easier
безусловно,
to
так,
console yourself like this. Yes,
а у
some
кого-то,
people,
безусловно,
yes, they
просто
do like that, but some
невежество
people, they're
внутреннее,
simply
незнание.
ignorant. They
И они
unaware.
правда уверены,
And
что
they're really
когда говорят
sure
спецоперация
when
и
they
обещают
say
точечные
special
удары
operation, they were talking about
по
surgical
военным
strikes
объектам,
at military targets.
что это так и вообще может быть в действительности.
And they think that
Так не
this
может быть
is
в
for real.
действительности, потому что
It cannot be like this
эту
in
спецоперацию
reality,
делают
because
люди, это
this
человеческий
special
фактор
operation
и
is done by
ошибки
people, and there's human factor, and there are
неизбежны.
errors, and they
А
inevitable.
сейчас уже и не только ошибки,
And
а
now it's not just errors.
какая-то планомерная,
It's really like
выверенная.
a purposeful
То есть для меня в первый
action.
день, когда я услышала, я
On
же
the
давно
first day
связана с войной. Я
when I
дружила
heard
с
that,
Сережей
because
Говорухиным.
I've
Это
known
мой был
about the
очень
war for
близкий
quite a
друг.
while. I was a good friend with
И
Sergey
в
Govorukhin,
тему
this
войны сначала чеченская кампания,
documentary
потом
maker,
Таджикистан.
filmmaker. So in first it was the first Chechen war, and then
Я была
Tajikistan.
очень... Мы с ним даже из-за этого поссорились. Я
And I
вела
was very
вечера памяти погибшим
vocal about it, and
российским
we even had a
солдатам
fight
в
over
Чечне.
it. And I used to
И
participate in
это было
so-called
каждый год, и каждый
memorial
год я читала
evenings
эти списки со сцены.
for the soldiers that died in the war, and I would read the
Еле-еле
lists of the dead
читала их,
from the
читала.
stage, and I would read them.
А потом сказала: Сережа,
And
ты
then I
можешь
said
мне
to
объяснить,
Sergey,
зачем все
I
это?
said,
Я
so
не
could you
понимаю,
explain it to
зачем все
me?
это.
Why all
Мы
that?
как бы, это была какая-то такая вот надо их поддержать. Я
And there
говорю,
was
значит,
this
надо
kind
же
of thing.
поддержать не
So
только тем,
he
что мы
was saying,
читаем
so we need to
списки и
support them.
собираем.
But I said to him, so,
Наверное,
but
надо
it's not just, we
как-то
don't support them
остановить
just
войну, наверное,
reading the
это
lists. Maybe
самое
we need to stop the war, and that will
Вот.
help
И
them.
что-то он сказал, что это не в нашей компетенции,
And
там
then he
никто ничего
said,
не понимает. И в какой-то момент я поняла, что
it's
я
not
больше не
in
могу.
our expertise and all that we don't know. And at some point I just
Что мое
realized
участие в
I
чтении
can't.
этих списков, это
So
как
my
будто косвенное
participation in
участие
reading those lists, it's kind of
в этой войне. И больше
indirectly participating in the war.
не вела эти вечера.
And I never hosted those
И
evenings
для меня было сразу
after
очевидно,
that. And for me, it
что
was obvious
никакой точечной
from the start
войны,
that there is no such a thing as like surgical
мега-супер
strikes,
точной, где не
it's like
пострадает
mega
ни
super
один невинный человек,
surgical strikes,
не
and
бывает
when
просто, не было
none of the
и
innocent
не
people
может быть в
die.
истории.
So it cannot be, and it never happened in history.
Что в любом случае
That
невинные
in
люди
any
будут
case, innocent people
погибать.
will be
Сейчас,
killed.
скорее всего, уже начинается. Сейчас твои коллеги-артисты, в том
Now, your
числе,
colleagues, actors,
ректоры 200
deans
вузов
of
страны, и еще
200
другие люди,
universities
в
of the
том числе
country,
из
and some
НКО,
other people, and many people from
которые пишут
NGOs,
письма в поддержку.
they write letters to support
Как ты будешь с ними общаться?
this
Абсолютно.
special operation.
Нормально.
How are you going to
Ну,
communicate with them?
Если я смогу этим общаться просто так, конечно, мне
I
это не причина.
might communicate, but just to
Но если я
plainly
смогу кому-то
communicate with
помочь,
them, if I don't know, but if I can help
что ты
some
можешь
of them.
сделать, если
So what can you do
человека не научили читать в детстве,
if the
анализировать,
person
думать?
didn't learn how to
Что
read
ты
when they were
можешь
young and how to analyze? What can you do?
Кто-то из-за страха.
Some people do it
Все-таки
out of
таких
fear.
подонков,
Frankly,
таких циничных,
such
отъявленных,
cynical
меньшинство.
scum,
В какой момент вот это вот
there are not so many of them.
наша точка зрения и их точка
At
зрения,
what
в какой момент
point
это
there
стало
was this our point of view
настолько
and their point of view? At what point
расколотым?
it was so divided?
Не знаю, а я даже не
I
знаю,
don't
что у них за
know.
точка зрения.
I don't even know
Ты
what
говоришь, что я
is
не хочу
their point of
смотреть на
view.
себя с
But
их
you said
точки
at some point,
зрения.
so I don't want to
Вот
look at
кто эти
myself from
они?
their point of view, but who are
Почему
they?
есть у меня есть они и
Why there
у
are
меня
us
как
and
бы
there are
большой
them?
опыт уже прохождения травли, да?
But you see, I have
И
quite an
этот дом в
experience
Латвии, он каждый раз всплывает как бы как
of
самый
going
веский аргумент.
from
Всплывал уже много раз. Там
bullying
последний раз,
and
по-моему, это было в
And there were lots of arguments like that, you know, and this propaganda guy Solovyov, he was like blaming me for being in Latvia, and they were blaming me for being a traitor. So if you left and if you don't support, you're a traitor. I understand that this is their point of view that is supposed to be extrapolated to the society. Maybe they don't even think like that. Maybe they think differently, but they need to explain it to the society. They need to explain it to the people how the whole thing happened, because they can't just say, you know, sorry, we just started the war. No. And that's why she can't come. So that's why she left. So they can't say that. So that's why they need to give people a theory, a myth. And it's a very simple myth. This myth will be hitting that very nerve, saying she's a traitor, enemy of the people, you know, something that is in their subconsciousness that people would respond to. Is it possible that today that the loyalty or the silence of people from NGOs, will it help them to save their foundations? You know, 15-year sentence in prison for fake information on the internet. And if you want to help and continue help and not to be in prison for 15 years, you know, for me it's very difficult to give advice. You see, I'm not asking for advice. I just need your opinion. But see, I realized that I couldn't make this choice. I'm afraid of coming back. It's a very difficult choice. Do you understand better your poets, Marina Tsvetaeva, Boris Pasternak? I'm very grateful to Marina Tsvetaeva because I loved reading her diaries, her diary prose. And it helped me back then, because when you read what those immigrants were going through of this white guard wave, how they were able to pull themselves together. So we kind of given all the guidelines. So you kind of consider yourself as an immigrant of this wide guard wave. So this Makropsy village where she was, yes, I feel that, you know, and I was crying together with her when I was reading those diaries, and I was thinking about how is it possible that, you know, the pride of our culture, our treasure, how was it possible, and that she went through all these sorrows. But now, you see, I have the guidelines. Osip Mandelstam, and his poem, all these guidelines, they are for survival, because the survival of your spirit helps to survive your body. So what the poem? The wolfhound age throws itself at my shoulders. I just read, I just keep reading this poem, and I feel how my dignity kind of stands up. The wolfhound age throws itself at my shoulders, but I'm not no wolf by my blood. Rather stuff me like a hat into the sleeve of the warm overcoat of the Siberian steppes, that I may see neither the coward at the soft waist, nor the bloody bones in the wheel, that all night the blue Arctic foxes may shine to me in their primal beauty. Take me away into the night where the river Yenisei flows, and the pines grow to the stars, because I'm no wolf by my blood, and only my equal will kill me.
С такими стихами умирают в устах.
With such poem, people die.
Видишь, а мне
You know,
это
but
наоборот.
I feel it
Дает силу.
differently. It gives me strength.
Твои идеалы потерпели крушение?
Were your ideals shattered? No.
Нет.
No.
Я сейчас вижу, как мои идеалы,
I see how my ideals,
которые есть у других людей, помогают мне не сойти с
the
ума.
ideals that other people have, they help me remain sane.
Мне лично.
Me
Те идеалы,
personally,
на
the
которые,
ideals that
в которые я верю. Ну,
I
не
believe.
знаю. Может быть, потому что я столько видела смерти
Maybe I've seen so much death near me.
детской.
Children died.
Может быть, потому что ну, как бы вот это вещественное,
Maybe, you know,
осязаемое,
this,
жизнь, богатство, квартиры, вот
all
это
these
всё,
tangibles,
это,
you know,
конечно,
this
не
life,
главное, это
wealth, and money, and all that, all this good,
ценность.
but it's not value at all.
Ценность — это только люди вокруг.
Value
Вот это
is
богатство
people,
настоящее.
that this is real wealth.
Это подлинная олигархия.
This is so-called
Ты веришь в
true
жизнь после смерти?
oligarchy. Do you believe life after death? Yes.
Да.
Я
Yes.
верю в жизнь после смерти,
Yes,
конечно.
I do believe
Не
in
знаю.
life after death. How, and what
И
is
что
it?
там?
I don't
Не
know.
знаю.
What's there? I don't know.
Не знаю, это
I don't know.
Рай, ад, наказание.
Я не знаю
Paradise,
ничего.
hell,
Я
punishment.
этого
I
не
don't know.
знаю.
I don't know.
Но то, что человеческая душа,
But I
то,
know
что
that
это как бы,
human's
как
soul,
Цветаева живет после смерти.
because, you know, Tsvetaeva,
Рядом.
she lives
Садится,
after
встает передо
death
мной, берет
around
меня за
us.
руку
You know, she stands right next to me, she
и
holds
ведет
my
меня.
hand, and she leads me.
Говорит, ты что это?
And
Не
she
можешь
says,
попасть
so what's wrong with
ключом
you?
в зажигание
Can't you just, you
машины.
know, start your car? What's wrong with you?
Чем ты сейчас здесь занимаешься вот эти там 2-3 недели?
What are you doing here now over these 3
А,
weeks?
во-первых, я
Well,
пытаюсь
first of all,
помогать. Меня это спасает.
I'm doing my
Кому ты
best to help
помогаешь?
people. This saves me. Whom do you help?
Я помогаю я так люблю структурированную помощь, как ты
You
знаешь.
know, I love structured help, as you probably know.
Пока у меня нет такой возможности.
Right now, I don't have this opportunity.
Поэтому я
So
просто
that's why
помогаю всем, от кого
I
получаю
just
запрос о
help
помощи, о
everyone
помощи.
that
Стараюсь,
comes
конечно,
to me
как-то
with a
проверять и
request for help. And of
верифицировать.
course, I'm
Это
trying to
люди,
verify
которые
and
сюда
check people.
приезжают, это дети, которые
So the
болеют
people who
раком,
come
или
here
это
is the
беженцы?
people who
Кто
come
это? Вот
here,
какие категории граждан?
those who have cancer or just
Давай
refugees and all.
посмотрим на эту геополитическую
Let's
гуманитарную
just
катастрофу,
look
которая
at
сейчас
this
происходит.
geopolitical humanitarian catastrophe that's unfolding in front of our
Это
eyes.
беженцы
These
из
are
Украины.
refugees from Ukraine.
Это люди, которые не могут вернуться в Россию.
These are people who can't return to Russia.
Не знаю, как нас назвать.
I don't know how you would call us.
Невозвращенцы.
Невозвращенцы.
Non-returners. Okay.
Это молодые люди,
So
которые не
these are
хотят
young
убивать,
people who don't want to kill.
поэтому вынуждены были бежать.
So that's why they
Не
had to
хотят идти
flee.
на войну.
They don't want to
Потому
go
что
to war
прошел слух о всеобщей мобилизации.
because there was this rumor about
Некоторые
the
едут с родителями,
total
некоторые, может,
mobilization.
появились семьи, маленькие дети.
Some people run with their parents, some people have
То есть
children.
это какой-то со всех сторон
So it's
много
from
горя и
all over
слез.
the place and lots of
Ты
grief
физически
and
помогаешь
tears.
по телефонами, по
Do you help them
советами,
physically? Do you help them with phone numbers? Do you help them with advice? What do you
Контактами,
do?
советами,
I give them contacts,
с
advice.
соединением
I
информации,
connect them with other people, give them information.
где что есть кто.
Where, who.
Можем ли ну, мы, ты,
Can
может
we,
быть,
you,
ты со своей известностью,
maybe
или кто-то
you
еще из
with your,
твоих знакомых артистов, люди, короче, с именами, которые известны
with
на
you
весь мир,
being
могут ли,
so well known,
можете ли
people
вы
with big
сделать
names
что-то
that the
для
world knows about?
создания гуманитарных коридоров
Can you
в
do
Украине, поскольку
something
я понимаю, что это
with
самая
making
главная
those
проблема
humanitarian
сейчас.
corridors? Because I know that for Ukraine it's the most important thing now.
Это самая главная проблема.
This is the most
Это самая
important
главная
problem.
проблема.
This is the main problem.
И мы всеми силами пытаемся ее решить, но
And
пока
we are doing
безуспешно.
our
Как вы
best
пытаетесь
to
решить?
solve it.
Вы это кто для начала?
And who are you who are trying to do
Ты не
this?
можешь говорить?
You can say,
А почему вы не можете
why
решить?
Потому
can't you
что
solve it? because Russia is saying that this is the Ukrainians who breach the agreement on humanitarian corridors, and Ukraine says this is Russia that breaches the agreements. Now, the main thing is to stop the war. But if we can't quite do it yet, we need to do everything to make those humanitarian corridors. And we don't have any clear information. None of us has it. This is just like a vicious circle. I don't even remember anything like that. When there was 4-day war with the Taliban in Tajikistan, I was moved from there. So you were there shooting the film Moonlight Father in 1999, and the Swiss, they sent the Red Cross because we had one citizen from Switzerland in our crew, and we all got on that vehicle. The Dutch, the Serbians, there was an international group. And this Swiss guy that due to whom we had a chance to actually get out of there. There were a few Russian citizens. And my friends, Sergey Govorukhin, the filmmaker, and Sergey Kushnerov, a journalist, somehow they managed to organize this corridor exactly for that time that we managed to drive to the border of Tajikistan and Afghanistan, and Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. Now it's impossible to do, and I have no idea why. I don't understand. And I have no idea who can actually impact it. But this is the most important thing that we need to do. One important thing that we need to talk about, I think. So what's happening today in the relationships of Russia and the rest of the world, and they call it sanctions. Strangely enough, but it hits most painfully the simple people in Russia, despite the fact that they support or not support the war. So McDonald's stopped its operations, and the people can't use some of their funds that they have on the account. You know, Starbucks closed, and you can't buy medications and all these things kind of the same line. So what do you think? It seems to me that in the West, they don't understand whom they actually hurt. No, they don't. They don't, but this is the next phase. You know, the planet is in turbulent mode. The whole humanity is in turbulent mode. In Ukraine, it's of 1 degree. In Russia, it's a different degree. In other countries that receive refugees, it's a different one too. In one way or another, the whole world is in turbulent state. And to make a proper decision being in that state, it's very difficult. And the risks of making wrong decisions are very high. And now, to speak, to be in a dialogue while the war is in Ukraine and people physically dying, and say, let's reconsider the sanctions so the sanctions wouldn't be harming the people in Russia, I think it's practically impossible. We won't be heard, no matter how we will say it. So I can't come up with anything. So what could I say? Kind of think about people. But, you know, people are forgotten, like it always was. People are kind of thrown away from this game. As I said, first we need to stop the war to be heard. Yes, of course, there are lots of strange decisions and decisions that don't really hurt those who actually are responsible for this, and those decisions really hurt the people who are not responsible for anything. So whom you hope for in terms of stopping the war, or at least having suspended. So I think it's Vladimir Putin, the president of Russian Federation. So he what? He will realize that that was a mistake, a wrong decision? Yes. Yes, that he will realize that his blood and pain and deaths and it must be stopped. But this will practically admitting that he was wrong. But only strong people can actually admit that they were wrong. And I think in this there will be strength.
Много говорили в России о том, что вот в эти дни сейчас
in Russia we spoke a lot that in these days in Europe, in Latvia, there's a lot of anti-Russian movement. Did you feel it? No. Maybe somewhere, and I'm sure there are some strange people who do that. Everybody's scared today. And as soon as you're going to poke someone, you will definitely hit a nerve, and everybody feels bad. And Europeans and Latvians, they're very much frightened because, the border is very close. That's why people so easily go for aggression. But I can't say that those breakdowns that I saw, those breakdowns happened not because there was some sort of kind of deep understanding or like deep thinking, but certainly Latvia already suffered from the Soviet Union. And during the Stalin's time. But I don't see that. I see support, and I'm grateful to everybody, to all Latvians. I'm grateful to all my friends in Europe. When no one knew where I am, none of them knew that. They were just calling with the words of support and love. Could you choose mercy or justice? No, my dear. Depending on the situation. Sometimes mercy, sometimes justice. Every person is unique, and everybody has their unique situation. And sometimes they choose mercy, sometimes justice. There is no one single answer. Freedom or stability. I know that. I watch your programs. And truth and safety. We have a special one for you. Homeland or truth? Katya, I can't answer this one. because it seems like I'm comparing them. But for me, homeland for me is not the people who sent others to die. For me, within my homeland, there is truth, and I know such people. I know such homeland. Those people are interwoven with this truth. They are the truth. And for them, it's going to be very, very hard.
Где мы с тобой встретимся через год?
Where are we going to meet in a year? Let's do it in Moscow.
Давай.
Okay.
Ну, да.
Fingers crossed. Tell Gordeyeva, Chulpan Khamatova.